Yeah, we about to. What's up, y'all? This is Ray Anthony Heights, Studio Skye-Tiger. Comics in the building right now. We just, going to start everything off. We're just a hint late, but that's okay. Very close to on time, I guess. 2 minutes, not too bad. And right now we're actually going to be streaming from. Hey, what's up, Lot? We're actually streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and the Studio Skye-Tiger Comics Instagram. All right, so my camera setup is a little different. Usually I have it up a little higher, and I still could do that. You know what? No, it's fine. This is cool. It's just good enough. Let me do this real quick. Yeah, today is going to be special. We're trying something new, and in that. Okay, this is a little tilted. There we go. We're getting there. Getting there, y'all. There we go. Okay, cool. So yeah, we're trying something a little different right now. I think it's very, very fun. I mean, with retailers actually being at the ground floor and they get to see what the fans are buying. They get to actually talk to the fans, recommend things, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why we don't have regular podcasts or interviews with retailers, especially fantastic ones like the person I'm going to introduce right now, who came out the box swinging. Just started it. He's about to creep up on his first year in March, and with a TV show being filmed at his shop. And like I said, the man hasn't even been in business a whole year, but he's a wonderful person. I mean, he's definitely the friend that I had all my life that I just met last year. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Mr. Josef Woods.
What's up, folks? How you guys all doing tonight? I think it's night wherever you guys are. It's night over here.
Definitely night over here, for sure. So yeah, look, he's coming live from the comic den. Okay, this man lives and breathes comics. It's all about that life. What's up, Joe, man? Having you here is, we initially were going to have your buddy here and my best friend, Chris Mitchell. But unfortunately, our boy was sick and, he's recovering right now. I checked on him before we started the podcast.
Get well, Chris.
Yeah, I hope he is watching. If he is not watching, you know what? He'll see it on the record. We're gonna post it up later. But he will be here. And here's the reason why I titled this segment that we're gonna have every month, Chop-Shoppe. So in the hood, when a bunch of us folks is sitting there talking, we call it chopping it up.
Chopping it up. That's right.
Right? And we're talking about the comic shops. So it's Chop-Shoppe right now. That's what the segment is going to be called. And it's dedicated to everything that the retailers see and do and what they do to help us. I figure any comic book publisher should be talking to retailers on a regular basis. And why not my boy Joe? Because he knows what's up. So Joe, what can you tell us, man, about the Comic Den? Introduce yourself to folks.
Oh, well, folks, my name is Josef Woods. I go by the name of Joe Jam Zero, the Soul Geek and Superhero.
Yes, sir.
I started the Comic Den. It's going on its first year, and I did a soft opening in February, but I did my main grand opening in March. We're approaching the first year, and I couldn't be more happier or proud to stand in the position that I'm in right now, to just show individuals like my 12-year-old son, to go after your dreams, do what you love to do, just trending and setting examples, building your own community, and just basically doing something that is so pleasurable to your bone and marrow. It doesn't bother you to spend multiple hours doing or spending time, helping others in this platform and field. I just feel like I have unlimited energy towards it, and it's just something I really just love to do.
That's for sure, man. Like every time we're there, you have energy, and the people just kind of feed off of it. Because I mean, first of all, if I try to go to your shop for 30 minutes, I'm there for 2 hours, and that's the kind that's the kind of energy you had, and then everybody else is there. It's kind of like a community place at the same time. The place that you're sitting right now, there's a section. I want you guys to know there's a section in the comic den where you just can't hang out, read, you know. And Joe is the most laid back dude. Like here, you want to check out this comic? Why don't you read it first? Just kick back. He's that dude, and he's sitting there, and you guys can talk about everything from the absolute line at DC to like stuff that unheard of stuff you ain't seen since the 60s and 70s. So going there is kind of like going to a comic shop library. And so let's talk about right now, like what you're seeing in comics. Like, what are the current trends for January? Since it's February, it's the top of February, so we don't know what's happening in February. So really, we're gonna find out what's going on in January at the comic shops, at the comic den.
Well, of course, you guys know that anything, the magnificence of what DC has done this last year with their absolute titles has totally just changed the market in comics. I mean, just in these last few months alone, I've experienced individuals come inside the store who has not collected comic books at all, who haven't
Mm.
picked up a comic book anywhere between 5 to 15 to 20 years, and it's all based off of the influence of what Absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman has done. I hear people there at their jobs, what you call that, like water cooler talk, and other people talking at their jobs about, oh, have you guys checked out this Absolute Batman title? So it is opened up a floodgate of new readers and new interested readers as well, and the beautiful part about that is when they come into a store such as mine and others, their minds are open to other things, so someone told me, I think Mark Millar said this years ago, like, you can't win without the big two doing well, and this is
That's
just
true.
proving that Marvel and DC needs to thrive for other independents and other comic book publishers and stuff like that to thrive as well, because that when a customer comes inside my store, even if they're looking for Absolute Batman, you know what they're doing now? They're browsing the store. They're looking for other stuff. They're asking questions. So if I have a section for local writers and creators over at my store, Ray, because you're on that wall.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Don't worry, Joe. We're gonna get to that.
But it also brings up the subject to other things that they're interested in reading. It's very profitable for a bookstore like mine as well, because now that person that hasn't been into a comic book at all or hasn't read a book in 10 or 15 years, now they're just interested in reading other stuff. So the floodgate has been opened now. Now that person wants to fill in gaps, or that person wants to read other things. And I just think that that's a remarkable thing that's just happened this last few years. Well, not few years, this last year, with just the absolute titles alone. I mean, along with that, I mean, I'm not taking away and just giving all the thrill to DC. There's been other great things coming out of Marvel as well. Chip Zdarsky wrote a great Captain America story. Joshua Williamson just wrote a hell of a Iron Man story arc that everybody's buzzing about.
All right, that's true.
Philip Kennedy Johnson is writing the Infernal Hulk right now. There's a new intergalactic empire story arc with starting the Black Panther right now. So there's great things out there, but the spark of it is really pushed and moved by DC and the absolute titles in the DCKO right now.
Okay, so out of the DCKO, we got that. We know that's kind of dominating right now. What's going on in the Marvel side? Does Marvel have any breakouts that people are coming in and asking for, off the top that can even compete with DC's Absolute line?
Honestly, the only thing I can say that people have been buying frequently from the store is the Punisher. You know, people are heavy on the Punisher right now. Marvel Zombies is another thing that sells well that I see frequently moving around here. Like I said, the Infernal Hulk. That's if you guys are not reading the Infernal Hulk, you guys are missing out. Philip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein is over there doing an absolute killer job on delivering that character in a whole different metric. Chip Zdarsky is writing a great Captain America story. So, but you see, this is the cold part about it, though, Ray. Most of these writers, like even in the Ultimates universe with Jonathan Hickman doing Spider-Man and this Ultimate Endgame, that did cause a huge buzz, you know. But
Definitely.
if you really look at most writers, like say Al Ewing is writing Absolute Green Lantern, but he's also writing Thor and he's also writing Venom. Dennis Camp is over there writing Martian Manhunter, which is one of the top, absolute sellers. But he's also writing Ultimates and he's also writing Ultimate Endgame. So most of these writers are playing on both sides of the fence. The bulk of them are truly writing for both Marvel and DC.
Definitely, definitely.
And that's where if you follow certain writers, you'll get great story arc, and that's kind of like one of my methods of following certain writers because I know that they're going to deliver a good story on either side of the ball field.
Well, who is your top writers right now? I kind of want to know, like, who's not going to let Joseph Woods down when you pick up a comic from them?
Man, dude, that's a long list, because I have, I have favorite writers, I adore what Scott Snyder has done with Absolute Batman. I love, 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 love what Kelly Thompson is doing with Absolute Wonder Woman. But
Yes,
I enjoy reading books by like Stephanie Williams, for example. I've been
yeah,
enjoying her
definitely.
Roots of Madness, her
Steph
Temporal.
is
Oh man,
amazing.
you guys ought to definitely read what she's doing in Wonder Woman. I mean, after Tom King has done all this Mouse Man knows and Mouse Man sees stuff, Stephanie has gone in there in one issue and just brought a very settling balance with good story arc and good character foundation just in one issue. So I can't wait to read the next issue. Like I said, Chip Zdarsky, Philip Kennedy Johnson. I like what Jonathan Hickman has done with Ultimate Spider-Man through these last few years. There's
That's
just
our
a
boy
host.
Jamal's one of his favorites. The segment.
Jason Aaron, Dennis Camp, there's just a host of just great. Oh man, I can't leave out Matt Fraction. I mean, that freaking,
Yes, yes.
yeah, that new Batman run, dude. That first issue almost brought people to tears. Favorite writers and artists. I mean, you have people like Daniel Warren Johnson who continues to knock it out the gate.
That's
Joshua
right.
Williamson, like I said, has went over there and done a great job for DC, but now he's saving Iron Man, and then you
I
have
love your phrasing. He's saving Iron Man.
well, yeah,
I
because the,
hey, it
the
is what it
last arc
is.
I read with Iron Man, I wasn't overwhelmed or underwhelmed by it. It was just like, okay, well, it's okay, it's good, but it's not something that the high remarks that you would put on a top tier character like Iron Man. He should be
Right.
delivering on stronger story arc, and I just read that one issue just last week, dude. Trip this, so I read 4 books off the top. On a day like this on Tuesday, I took a couple of books home. I said, okay, I got to be ready for my community. So I read Absolute Batman. I was like, okay, this is good, but it's supposed to be good because it's been delivering. I read Absolute Wonder Woman. I said, okay, this is good, but it's supposed to be good because they've been delivering. I read Infernal Hulk. I said, okay, this is good, but this has been good the last few issues, so it's supposed to be delivering. But when I read Iron Man, I was like, whoa, dude, this is really, really good. Like,
Joe, did you have low expectations?
Well, I didn't have high expectations, you know. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, because
Wow.
of the last story arc, you know, it was like one of those things you didn't know what to expect, you know. So it was like one of those moments to where you said, "Oh wow, this turned out to be really better than what I thought." I think this is going to be my read for the week, you know, and it's not because you know it's better than any of the other titles. It's just that the book was more of a okay, I expect all these other books to be good because they've been delivered, but here's a new delivery that actually lived up to a higher expectation than I even imagined it to be.
Definitely, definitely. No,
Oh, and
that's
we can't leave out Jamal Campbell. Jamal Campbell has been doing an amazing job on writing and drawing Zantana. We have Nicholas Ivan, Draper Ivan. I mean, I can go, like I said, I can go on one of these. Morgan Hampton has been doing a great job over
oh yeah,
there on
Morgan is
Green
killing it.
Lantern Corp. I mean, my man Gerardo Quick just wrote a Supergirl story that he was talking about, and I found out about it late, but I promoted it on my page. I mean, all these young soldiers, all these young, beautiful minds. I mean, Jamal and Nancy is a legend up and coming. He's doing such a great job on his own stuff. I can't wait till he gets his hands on a Marvel or a DC character.
I
There are
think that's
young.
happening in the next year. Honestly, like when they start reading this stuff, I think somebody, a smart editor, is going to throw this man a bone and say, "They go, come on, Jamal, let's see what you do."
Yeah, these are young-minded warriors ready to deliver. I mean, with an imagination that's deeper than than the Atlantis or an abyss. They're just going to constantly dig into that darkness and come out with lighted ideas. You know, and I'm just so proud to just be a part of some of these guys' influence, their lives, their conversations, and just being able to just see their growth from the ground up.
Well, I'm curious. I mean, because you kind of hitting on something right now. Because not only are you a retailer, but you're a reader. Like you really do get into these comics, not just so you know the material when your consumers and your customers come in and it was like, Joe, what's good, but you understand exactly what makes a great comic. So when you're talking to your customers and they're coming in here and they're talking, I would ask you this as a retailer. What are the things that your customers are talking about that really resonate with them that they want to see more of? Do they talk about that? Because clearly, I can understand with the absolute line. The absolute line is something new because DC has been a little stagnant with some
Right.
of the stuff that they do. The stuff that Chris Somney and Wade were doing on Batman and Robin was just really, really great. But they have a couple of breakout stuff, but they hadn't had anything really that big until the absolute line really started to dominate. And they have been definitely kind of creeping past, the market as far as getting more piece of that pie than Marvel, right?
Right.
Like so, and for a long time, Marvel was dominating. Marvel was, you know, they
They really were.
even when they was doing bad, they was doing better than DC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a whole new game. So I'm asking you right now, like when people are coming in, what are they talking about? Like, what's the buzz?
Well, the buzz is just basically what's new and what is coming. You know, I mean, with all that's out there right now, most people want to see what else is DC going to put out there that's going to be great because this is only going to last for so long, right? And then they got to be prepared to come up with the next idea. So when they said they were going all in, they have to keep going all in. And Marvel, I look at it like this, dude. I mean, everybody has to have their turn, you know. Marvel
Right.
dominated for a good 10 plus years, you know, from movies to comics and stuff like that. While if you really look at it, I'm an old lefty. I'm a 70 baby. So you know, the first real superhero movie I went to the movies to see was Christopher Reeve's playing Superman. You know,
Oh yeah.
the second movie, I mean, I saw Dolph Lundgren play He-Man and the Punisher, but those wasn't earth-shattering movies.
Right.
However, when Michael Keaton became Batman, you know, that broke records
Yeah,
when
that was a
Jack
game
Nicholson
changer.
was the Joker. Exactly, you know. So I always looked at it like DC started, what's that song? We started this gangster, but DC started it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I always looked at them as like, forerunners, and then some people told me, I don't know how true this is, Ray, you're a great artist and you played on both sides of the fence, but somebody told me you don't make your bones until you actually get over to DC if you're a Marvel artist or something like that.
Yeah,
You
that's
go
kind of
you
a
go
thing. You're right.
so I've always looked up to DC, even as an underdog. I've always kind of wanted them to come back. I rooted for Dawn of Justice to be a good movie when Superman was fighting back. I mean, I wanted it to do well. I wanted them to keep up because I hope where we're going right now is what I would like to see as a bookstore owner and just as a comic book reader and collector myself, because I still collect, I still read. I mean, owning the store is just one aspect of who I am, but I love comics. I still love reading them. There's some I'm be like, oh well, this is coming home with me. I don't take the variants, guys, but I will take a cover A or something like that home, because I still value the whole art and the whole amazement of just reading comic books and art and all that stuff like that. But I'm looking forward to that one day, that one year when we can go see two good Marvel movies, two good DC
Definitely.
movies, where DC movies are DC comics are shining, and then Marvel books are shining. So we got people coming in here and they're doing both, which there's weeks like that, what I'm saying? And not every week is like that. But when that happens, now you can say, oh, well, what else is out there? Marvel is doing well, DC is doing well. What can we put out there? Oh, let's do a Spawn movie. Let's do a Midnight Tiger movie. Let's do a movie off of indie
Your
titles.
lips, man.
Let's
Your lips.
let, let's reach and get more, because the better those companies do, people just want more. You know what I'm saying? People want to see more. It opens up a window to other things to happen, dude.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when you see that kind of thing for that, and comics, people have been really gravitating a lot towards comics. I think the boom happened with the pandemic, and it has continued to grow ever since. The same with anime and manga and all that other kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
speaking of that, well, we actually over on Instagram, man, we actually have some luminaries. Chuck Patton, we all know the legendary Chuck
I
Patton.
know
Chuck
Chuck. Yeah,
Patton,
Chuck comes in here to
yeah,
see me every now and then.
Chuck is amazing, man. He's just an
Yes, he
amazing
is.
dude, great knowledge, you know what I'm saying? And we had a question from Thomas Perkins, who has won an Emmy for his work on Ben 10 as the character designer, stuff like that, and an excellent friend of mine. And so Thomas had a question for you, Joe. Is the Iron Man story the beginning of a story? Or is it like, are we coming in the middle of something with that Iron Man story you're talking about earlier?
Well, when I read it, it felt, I don't know if you guys ever read Iron Man 1, with Madame Mass and AIM and stuff. It felt fresh, like I was reading a brand new Tony Stark, him, it wasn't him coming off of any back issues or anything like that. There was things that you can relate to, but it just felt fresh. It just felt new. It just felt like a new beginning for Tony Stark. I mean, from the way he was drawn to the way he interacts, it just felt different. And I think
Okay.
Joshua Williams' son really must have really took the time out to just say, what can I do to give Tony Stark a brand new, fresh start and a brand new, fresh look? And I think that's what he did with this book. So as long as it continues to trend in this direction, I kind of look forward to being to seeing Iron Man doing well. I mean, plus the community buzzed about it. I mean, I had people just coming in. I sold out of it. I mean, that
And see,
explains
that's
it
what we want to
itself.
hear. That's what
Yeah,
we want to hear. What are you
yeah.
selling out of? You sold out of that? I know you selling out of Absolute Batman for sure. Like,
Oh, most
so
definitely.
what's being a sellout? What stuff that the people are coming in is like, I need that. They don't even peruse it. They already know. They have it in their hand. Like, what is it that they have?
Most of the stuff, to be honest, I mean, it's the like you said, the absolute stuff is obvious. The Matt Fraction Backman is a seller because I've increased my buy in that. Infernal Hulk has done extremely well. Captain America is sold out. Marvel Zombies is a big seller. Anything in this area with the Punisher is doing extremely well. So I
Why do
know
you
with
think
his
the
new,
Punisher is doing well these days? Talk to me.
because well, because I think Frank Castle is just. I think people like. I think people still like that human side of a character, no matter how extreme they can be. I just think that he's rough edge, but if you really explore his character, he's just a man that went through a hard time, a hard moment. That's just trying to get the best, just trying to get back at the odds, basically.
Mm,
You
okay.
know, and
Is it like a Tony another redemption arc or something like that? Or like what do you think?
well, the last story arc Jason Aaron wrote with the Punisher, I guess they tried to step away from the skull, and they actually had him using swords, and then he ended up becoming demon possessed, and I mean,
Oh
it was
yeah, I
just
remember
dealing
that.
with the hand, and they brought his wife back to life, and she
Oh
was all
yes.
messed up. So I think people were more intrigued to see where does he go from there. I mean, that's what I was interested to see. Because the story started off where he just appeared. And there still haven't been any real depth to tell you what happened in the meantime and in between time of what happened at the end of that. I forgot the name of that story, or Killer or Killers or something like that.
Mm.
To where he is now in these red band issues.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, so there's something going on. Marvel has
Yeah.
some traction, and remember, for a long time, Punisher wasn't doing nothing. As a matter of fact, it was so bad to even bring the Punisher up was taboo. Right? Remember
Yeah,
that?
I remember the time when they converted him to a Frankenstein monster after Dakin
Oh,
had
I kind
chopped
of
him
love
up.
that.
I know, but you see, that's how high they were reaching to try to bring, something to him. But I really think, what done it, in my opinion, I think when Netflix had came out with that TV show with the Punisher, I think that
Oh
kind of
yeah, that's
I
right.
think that kind of helped give him a little bit of playing field. And Ray, I think it's just like take Mr. Terrific for example. And I was like,
Well,
telling this to somebody the other day. I was like, dude, Mr. Terrific been around. I say Mr. Terrific was around in the '90s when Dwayne McDuffie was writing him in the Justice League TV show. I like he actually took over leadership over the Watchtower, showing his leadership and his genius. Way back then. I say he just wasn't
yes.
on nobody's map. You know what I'm saying? Until this Superman movie comes out. Now everybody want to know more about Mr. Terrific, but he always was there though, dude. You know what
And
I'm
he was
saying?
always great. He was always great. He
Exactly.
just was underused.
Exactly. So I think it just comes to this point to where people just have to know once everybody knows who you are, I think that's when people get to see you. And then that's when everything changes about that character. More people saw the Punisher. More people were interested in the Punisher, seeing the violent and the kind and the rough stuff that the Punisher was going through. So it drew people to him.
And you know what? I think you definitely hit on that because that's one of those times where when it goes to a different medium like film or something like that, that it actually translates into comic book sales.
Exactly.
Because and then he's going to be in Born Again because they just advertised that. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe a lot of the folks from the Netflix Marvel series is coming back for the DC Plus stuff. So I don't know. I know everybody. I know Jessica's will be there
I
and
saw
all
that.
that,
I saw her
but
in
I
the
don't
trailer.
know. Right, exactly. So I don't know about Luke. I don't know about Danny. But Jessica will be there and Frank will be there. So that's already pretty big. So let's talk about that. That's actually pretty good. A lot of times we see these big box office like smashes, $1 billion films, and the needle on the comic books don't move. It'd be like, well, everybody going to see the movies, everybody going to see the MCU films, right? But we do not see that move as far as comics go. You've seen it, Joe. You already know. These characters pop up and it's like, hey, this guy was in a movie. Here's this Hawkeye. From 1987, and they're like, you know what I mean? But you got to think about those. So let's think about this: Invincible, and the TV show. I was a fan of Invincible as an independent comic from day one,
I
but
was.
right.
I
But
was too.
now with the show, how much are they moving now with the show? And we're going to talk about independence now too. So with
Okay.
Invincible having a show, what do you think?
Well, this is I liked Invincible way before the TV show came out. So in my personal collection, I have number 10 and I have 19, the first appearance of Battle Beast, all the way up until the end of the story arc, you know. So I was intrigued by the violence, just the humanity of someone so powerful, the way he interacted. Like you can literally see a moment of you in that moment or someone you know in that moment. Then all of a sudden here come Virtumites and all type of crazy stuff happening. So I love the perfect chemistry between fiction and nonfiction, you know. And I think Invincible did that very well for the TV show, and you can read it in the comic books as well. But what happened with Invincible is that people just like love the humanity side of it. You know, it
Right.
has everything in there. You know, I think really, you know, when you saw like the deception of Nolan in that movie, but the humanity of Mark's growth in that movie, the family trauma with the father and the hurtness of the mother when she found out her husband was like didn't well supposedly didn't love her and stuff like that. You know, all
Right.
that stuff hits so
Debbie
close
was
to
crushed,
home.
man.
Yeah. It hits so close to home, you know what I'm saying? Just the whole family ties in relation to that kind of to that TV show to where it drew people into the nonfiction of it so they can enjoy the fiction of it, you know. And I think that
Yes.
it just has that perfect type of chemistry to it because you know I was just telling that to somebody the other day inside the store. I say I like to read a book where say you and me we're in here talking about stuff right now, then you go outside and then you know aliens start attacking you and you're shooting eye rays and stuff like that and doing flips and jumping out the way. I like to me that's a real moment turning into a fictional moment. And I was like, and
Yes.
you'll see something so personal about you in one moment, but then the adventure of the next moment is what drives you to get the reading and want to know what happened even more. You know, I love that connection. You know, I love when when like a writer like I'm gonna use Jamal for example, when he writes like the dark ones, that's in a whole entire different type of world, but it's not. But you feel the personal relation. You can feel like kind of like what's going on where you can find your own personal self and your own personality in this dark world with all these crazy things happening. And I think that,
Absolutely.
you know, that's where you see talent at where, you know, you don't have to just write one way. You can write some many different ways, but also bring a touch of reality into that mixture.
Now, you know what? This is one of the conversations we had recently, and we were talking about story. This is stuff that Jamal and I talk about, most of the writers I talk about. People are invested in characters. The plot is
I
the
agree.
plot, but characters drive the plot. So, and you can
Yes.
add any mix. When I teach my classes on storytelling, one of the main things I say is there's a bank robbery, and then Constantine enters the bank as the robbery is going on. Wolverine would enter the bank differently, right? Spider-Man would enter the bank differently. The outcome of that robbery would be three different ways, three different type of stories, right?
I agree.
Right. So it's just the characters. Everybody knows what those characters would do. So with that, and talking about since we brought up Jamal, talking about the shop and independent comics, you are one of the few shops in SoCal who ride hard for independent creators. I mean, your stand with the independent creators is in the front of the store so people can see it. Instead of way in the back, hidden
Right.
away. It's like let's sell all the stuff that's popular first, and then the stuff that people might not care about, we'll hide it in the back. And I think you've already figured out how that works. Something like
Right.
Absolute Batman or Iron Man, whatever, people will seek it out anyway. That can actually go to the back because people are going to ask for that. But
Right.
let's see the independent stuff first, and maybe these new customers will see something that draws their eye and gets their attention and pulls that up. So Thomas Perkins actually asked about what's selling independently in your shop? What's hot independent comic wise at the comic den?
Well, first I'll say this. You know, the one thing I like about having the independence in the front is when people walk in, they see it and they explore it and they want to know what is this. So, you know what
Yes.
that does? that causes me to start whoop 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 and talking, and the one of the things that I fight hard for these hard working powerful minds is I think that I speak up for them, especially if I know them and I've took the time out to read their story arc. I actually, I've talked people that came. I've had visitors from Japan, Australia, Italy, from different places all over the world that's taken home these independent books, because you're selling them along with their story. And I think one of my biggest sellers, well, some of my best sellers are I sell a lot of, Rodney Barnes independent stuff on Zombie Love Studios. His
Yes.
Florence and Normandy, his Blackula does well. I sell the heck out of some Midnight Tigers because I'm probably gonna need to get some more from you. I sell Keisha Demon Eater by New Lila Voice very well.
Oh yeah.
TJ Sterling on Masa Musa and Joystick Angels. David Crownson on his work for Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer, and Killer
Yes.
Bee. Man, I can who else is just moved? Oh, R.J. Barnes has a book called Super Predators that's doing very well.
That's right.
And
That's right.
and then I just met a young lady named Alicia Anderson. Her book, Cosmic the Time Witch. We did a little
Yes. Yes.
presentation on that,
Yes.
and that book has been moving very well. Kevin Grivas gave, he has his Dark Storm and his books sell very well. And of course, I can't leave this guy out. It would be a shame for me to do so. Chris Robertson for All Negro
Yes.
Comics. I sold out of that book. I just ordered some more of those. And I cannot forget Sebastian Jones at Stranger Comics. His book
Yes.
does extremely well here as well. Also, James and Mike on the Thingamajigam Studios. I sell
I
their
love those
books
guys.
pretty well. Keithan Jones has a book here that does some good numbers. Because basically I have this formula where you guys have been nice enough. When I first met you guys donate books to the stores.
Oh
So
yeah.
and what I found out is I've never taken that money and just pocketed it. I've taken that money and I've given it right back to you guys. Now I want to
Definitely.
buy 5 more titles or 10 more titles. So I have this method with most independent with creators. I say, hey, give me about 4 or 5 of those books. Let's test it. If you want to do an Instagram video, I have an amazing content creator named Erin Sermon. She's just a true blessing to me.
Shout out to
I, I
Aaron.
I couldn't do this without her. But she helps us put together these powerful videos and introductions to these people's work, and that draws in people out of interest to read. I showed you today earlier, Ray. Just today, I mean, this wasn't even a 10 in 10 minutes. I sold 3 Sincere American Nightmares. I
So
mean,
how many?
three
Let's
people.
talk about it. How many sinceres have you sold, Joe?
Right now, I probably sold close to like maybe like 18 or 19 titles, going on 20.
Yeah, man, that
And
is amazing.
now I haven't had the book in the store that long, to be able to do that.
What is
I
it?
mean,
It
when
was since last Tuesday.
yeah, and I called Jamal I like, dude, I need more. He's like, what? I was like, man. And then remember, I got more. Then I called. I said, I just sold my last one. And
I
that's
know.
why I
That was
wanted to
crazy. It was
get.
the same day.
Exactly. So, that's why I wanted to get, but that's what front and center does for you guys. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because it catches the eye of the attention of the customer. I'm a merchandiser. I'm an ex-store manager. I've ran everything from CVS to Big Lots to Vons to any store you can walk into. I might have run that store. And the thing I've learned about business is service, but it's always positioning. where is the customer eyes going to roll? So that's why none of my stuff is not too high. It's just right for the eye. The only thing I put up high for people to look up at is brand new comics from Marvel or DC. But
That's
all
right.
you guys stuff set at an eye level, and I did that on purpose, because that captures the person's eye. Now they walk over there in curiosity, picking up the book, like, what is this? What is this about? Because that's what you learn. That's merchandising 101. You always set an eye at eye level what you want people to put their hands on. This is why companies like Dole and those people pay for that shelf space. When I used to move stuff
Yes.
around in my earlier years and stuff, oh, you can't move that around. Such and such. This company paid for that. French's Mustard paid for this to be here. They
Huh.
want their stuff at eye level. And you have to take that experience and just move it into what you want to do. So I just take the stuff that I really think that should be at people's attention, and I make it at eye level.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. So you about to give the independent creators that are watching right now, and when this goes on the record, why don't you give them an education on what sells an independent book as they can have to compete with a Marvel and DC or Image titles or whatever? Because there's hundreds of titles in a comic shop, maybe even thousands, depending on how big your shop is. And this is what the competition is when a customer comes to the store. So, what is it first that you think would draw a new customer, a new potential fan to your
Okay.
book? Because these potential and for the fans that's out there who are buying, Absolute Batman and any of the Absolute titles and Iron Man and stuff like that, the guys that are working on your independent comics right now are the next superstars. So that means that if you go in and you pick up, something from David Crownson or TJ Sterling, or Rodney Barnes is a star all on his own, but whoever is out there, those guys are really cutting their teeth on finding their voice, and a lot of times their purest voice is in the books before they hit the regulation of a Marvel and DC, because those books are regulated. They come up with some great stuff, but they have to kind of dial it back because So Joe, let us know, what is it that sets out the difference between a great independent book and an independent book that sits on the shelf and collects dust?
Well, I think a book that sit up there that collects dust is not. I don't think it's supposed to. Honestly, I think that I use this as a fair example. Um, it's up to a bookstore to help move independent titles, in my opinion. I think that if you have a book. And it's up to that bookstore to honestly read that independent title. So I don't want your books on the shelf and it's just sitting up there collecting dust, not moving, not moving any real estate for me. You know what I'm saying? I want that book to move so I could put more on that shelf or spread out on more. And I think in order for what I do is I talk the sale. I
Yes,
talk
you do.
about I talk about the books, I talk about what's in the book, I give history on who you are, because you see,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I know that a lot of people may come to the comic den because I have comic books here, but I have a lot of people that come here just because of the type of person that I am. I sell myself with my business,
Right. Yes.
and that's where I think a lot of independents need to probably spend a day in the store representing their titles, maybe doing store signings, getting that reader, getting that bookstore owner or get somebody on their team to read the book and help enhance that sale of that particular book. I think silence, that's saying a quiet mouth don't get fed. But when you
That's
open up
right.
your
That's right.
mouth, you eat, and none of my books that's in my independent section they're not on quiet. Everything from all Negro comics, I sell out of that because I talk about it. I talk about Keisha Demon Eater. I talk about Midnight Tiger. I talk about What the F Mama. I got emails. I got to send out those books like before I leave the store tonight.
Oh,
Pack them
that's
up and
right.
get them ready to mail out. So Marcus, if you're listening, you owe me something, dude. I ain't gonna put you on blast no more than that, dude. But
Marcus is out there listening right now. He actually did a live cast doing the cover for Lightning Strike #4. So, and really, I got something I'm doing for you for the shop too, you know, and that's going, yeah.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
You know
But
what it is.
I think I want to I have a nonprofit, Ray. It's called Soul Geek Empowerment. And Soul Geek Empowerment is we do two things. I get books donated to me, so I never bring those books to the store. I immediately box those books up at home and I take them to elementary schools, middle schools, and I take them to after school programs, and I take them to Department of Mental Health organizations. That is to just help, minds and young minds alone to become more creative, to build vocabulary, to build up the imagination for our future artists, etc. But the goal of Soul Geek Empowerment is to create that next generation of writers, artists, collectors, and readers, because I mean, I think I wear my gray pretty well, but they
You're
got
doing
me
pretty good
years
with that.
ago. They got me years ago, dude. I got my first comic book when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and here I am right now. What I'm saying, in my 50s, still collecting and loving comics. If we can get more of our generation trending like that, I mean, I'm sure you did too. I grew up in a time of gangs. People was dying over there's brothers and sisters in the grave because they had on the wrong color and the wrong neighbor. I didn't want nothing to do with none of that mess, dude. You
Me
know what
either.
I'm saying? All I wanted to do was collect my comics, play some games, get my action figures, or do whatever it was that was keeping me in my safe haven. But the main thing that I did of all those things was collect comics, read comics. And, I wish I had as many. I could probably give this store a run for as money as many books as I have in my personal collection at home, and
I
I
know that you
loved
could.
it. But I've loved it so much because it's kept me out of so much trouble. It saved my life. I mean, I can tell you a story one time where I saw all my friends go to jail. And the
Mm.
reason why I didn't go was because I saw a comic book store I never saw before. I spent 2 hours in there just browsing, shopping, and buying stuff. By the time I caught up with all my friends, they was all going to jail.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Do you remember what the name of that shop was? You remember?
All I know it was in Oceanside, man, because I was out of town. So we and my friends
Yeah.
we were traveling and stuff like that. And some of my friends were not always the most honest guys, but I can
I
honestly
had a few of
say
those friends.
I loved them and, they were my friends. But, one thing they can always say about me is like, this dude never walked away from that love of comic books. So I don't care how cool he may have thought he wanted to be or tried to be. That dude loved his comics, man. And, so if I saw a comic book store, I'd be like, forget what you guys are going through right now. Y'all do whatever
Yep.
y'all want to do. I'm finna go in this store. I'm finna see what's going on. But I do know what book I was excited to buy at that time, and that was when Dark Horse had took over the Star Wars title, and
Oh
I was
yes.
more interested to see where I always wanted that gap filled between Return of the Jedi, and I guess nowadays you want to say the Force Awakened. I think that's kind of like what Marvel is working on right now, trying to fill in that gap between Return of the Jedi to because I always wanted to see Luke Skywalker's growth as a Jedi Knight. What made him so great, or see him become great. And
Yeah.
I always wanted to just see him rise to that greatness and stuff like that. So
It's a
any
lot
book
of
that I
fertile
would,
ground during that timeline. It's a lot of
yeah.
story, left on the table.
Yeah, so I remember I saw that book and I was like, oh, I'm getting this book. I've been dying to read this, And once I did, I was stuck in the store because they had a lot of other stuff. I mean, think about it, Ray. That was doing. I think if I'm not mistaken, that was doing the Image era. So
Yeah,
the image,
it
the
definitely
Image
was.
guys, just rocked the market, dude. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, you can really think about it. That's when Superman died. That's when Batman got his back broken. I mean, Marvel probably took the worst loss because they lost McFarlane, they lost Jim Lee, they lost Rob
Oh, they was
Liefeld,
big
they
fans.
lost. I mean, they lost like heavy hitters, because I was reading in a book years ago, like I think Jim Lee sold 8.3 million copies of that X-Men #1. I think it's the
I
highest
think
selling
he's still,
comic book.
yeah, he
Yeah,
still got
I
the
think to
title.
this day.
Yeah,
So it's just stuff like that. I was like, man, these were some extreme times. But in that same market, if someone brought me a bunch of books from the '90s, I would hardly buy them from because there's a very small percentage of those books that are valuable. A very small
exactly.
percentage.
Because
It
nothing
was
really happened. You know what I mean? I mean, those
exactly
number ones, sure, but I would say, and even they went up and then they dropped. They didn't go to nothing, but those number ones definitely dropped in value before, after the bubble burst, and that's because the guys that stayed in the game, they continue to grow. So if you have that
right.
Jim Lee X-Men, and he is now, the president of DC Comics, CEO or whatever, like you got to think about that. Now that book, the X-Men book and Wildcats, they are very valuable. I don't know how valuable Wildcats #1 would be, but I know that it is valuable.
Well, yeah, it does have its value, but it took years for books like Spawn and all those books to be worth something. Because think about it like this, Ray. When those guys left, they changed the market, and everybody kind of trended over the image, and it was all about art. And that's why I admire Valiant Comics for so much, because they were writing stories while Image was just doing art. And you can go read a Magnus the Robot Fighter or Eternal Warrior, and you can get a great story out of Valiant. They were writing stories, while Image was doing art. That's why that
Didn't Shooter run that? Wasn't Shooter running that?
yeah, Jim Shooter was running that. Rest in
Yeah.
peace. And they did a combination where they collided worlds with this story arc called Deathmate. Where the
Yes,
Image
I
world kind
actually
of,
enjoyed that.
and I thought that was great. But at that time, when you think about it like this, New Mutants '98, first appearance of Deadpool, that's the ending run and all that stuff, the ending sagas of when before Live Film, McFarlane and Jim Lee left were probably like the last time those books were at coming up to any value. There was a dark space in comics for a while, what I'm saying, where a lot of those books were just being printed out and there was no value to them. I
No,
saw the death of Superman was a mover because Superman died, but it's no real effect nowadays because he came back alive. So that book has held a
exactly.
constant $25 value. But think about it, how much that book would be worth right now if Superman never came back to life, though.
Oh man, and I think about this stuff all the time. I mean, as a
You-
publisher, I try to think about the value of the actual thing, because you're exactly right. When those guys left, I would say out of the people who actually created Image, I think what the initial nine,
Yeah,
like Jim Valentino and Eric Larson were cartoonists,
right.
right? They were cartoonists. They wrote and drew. I think that the rest of the guys were mainly artists with designs on story, right?
Right.
And so that makes the difference, right? Because their art was popular. They could essentially they did this action picture book with minimal story if possible, and it sold crazy. And if they just drew, then that's the thing, right? I think McFarlane, he had some good ideas that maybe he got to a point where it's like, well, let's bring other people in to execute these ideas that I have. Because I used to say that I actually really enjoyed Spawn, and the idea of his power meter was very, very
Mhm.
smart,
I
because
miss those days. Yeah.
me too. Man, I could go all day talking about that, because he had stakes. There were
Yeah.
definitely stakes.
It was
If all his
challenged.
powers, exactly, he was relying on the cape. He was relying on the ectoplasmic armor without his actual magic ability. That's how
And
he
his
was conserved,
military skills too,
and his
man.
military skills. Great, great, great story elements, concept. But if you're not executing it, and it's very tough, as somebody who is, I was writing and drawing at 19 before I even got into pro level. But as somebody who's doing it now and who has been doing it interspersely, anybody who is a cartoonist who can write and draw any story, either one story or like Eric Larson, 300 issues plus, and I'm not even
That
counting.
dude has stayed consistent to Savage Dragon.
He has stayed consistent. I mean, and he had Eric is one of those guys, and I'm going to talk about Eric for a little bit. Eric is one of those guys who was similar to me. He had already had characters before he made it big, and then
Right.
he did his time at Marvel, for a while, and he built that name. But Savage Dragon, well, Dragon, because he wasn't Savage until he hit Image.
Right.
Dragon was always there, right? He was already doing stuff. So once the Image guys made their move, that shows the consistency. And even though Spawn has definitely had more issues, I believe, than Savage Dragon, McFarlane stopped drawing, which I think is sad because I really enjoyed Todd's work.
Yeah,
Like
I did too.
Todd's work.
I mean,
it's great.
It was the rise of Greg Capullo, though, man, because that guy.
If Todd didn't step back.
Yeah, that I will say, because I saw that man's art style elevate over a period of time, man. Yeah, exactly. But like I was saddened to see. I was like, oh, McFarlane's not drawing this book. I'm like, what's going on, man?
But then you saw Capullo, he was like, well.
Yeah, but at first his art wasn't as convincing as it started to elevate and get better, and I was like, oh, this guy is really like eating at McFarlane's table right now, like, I'm still growing and learning. And then by the time he got over there and started working with Snyder on Batman, it was over, dude. It was just over at that point, man.
He was established. By the time he left Spawn, that was Greg Capullo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that was Greg Capullo. So, I mean, and that happens to a lot of creators, you know what I mean? Like, I was thinking about Brian Michael Bendis. And Bendis and Powers, I was reading Powers before he had moved over to Marvel.
Right.
And so, because I'm a big independent person, I guess you can't, it's in my blood, because I used to buy so many independent books. I could rattle off independent books from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and on. I don't know that much about the 2000s independent books, but because after Image became a thing, they became less independent. You know what I'm saying? Like, because
Image, I feel you on that. I feel you on that, Ray. Yeah. I mean, because they did change the game and they were considered as an independent, but then by the time they started getting guys like Kirkman and all these other guys on their team, man, they were on a whole nother plateau, And speaking of Eric Larson, I don't know if a lot of people know this though, but when McFarlane when McFarlane first drew Venom back in Spider-Man 300, issues later, it was Eric Larson that added the teeth and the tongue with the saliva.
Yes, that was all
he's
the
actually
Larson
the one that gave Venom the look he's known for right now.
Exactly, and he doesn't get credit enough for that. I know Eric can be a curmudgeon from time to time, but the dude is actually brilliant. The things he does, and I like the way he thinks, because he's like, well, I just do what I want. And that's what makes the Image guys so attractive to creators. They did what they wanted, which was really against the structure that like Marvel and DC and them had, right? So, but think about this. Let's talk about, you mentioned Kirkman. I was back in the day, I'm dating myself, we were all on the Pencil Jack message boards, all of us creators, writers, artists, everything. And so all the dudes that are like the known quantities now that I came up with, like Sanford Green and LaShawn and Scotty Young and Kari Randolph and Mark Brooks. I could go on and on and on. All these guys. Ryan Otley. Back when Ryan Otley's nickname was Uncle Wyatt, because I think his niece or his nephew, he couldn't say Ryan, so he would call Wyatt. So that was his name. So we all were kind of intermingled in this group. Back then, this will tell you, Kirkman is like the Adam Sandler of comics, because The people I'm telling you, the people Kirkman employed back in the day, like Kari, like Corey Walker, like all of these different people he
Right.
had, right? They were at Funkatron. Funkatron
Okay.
was Robert Kirkman's independent, wholly, like seriously, independent comic. I think that's when he lost his 40 G's. Like, Robert's story is great too. But that man has been about comics since day one. Like he loves comics and he is willing to sacrifice everything, at least back then, for comics. Now, he's a millionaire and stuff like that. He still loves comics, but and those same people he brought with him as he rose.
Right.
Right? Just like Adam
That
Sandler. So, yep, like he is that dude. He continues to do that. And so, in his declaration, which has been taken down from the interwebs, where he basically was like, I'm tired of working for Marvel and DC and basically having to go through, how they say too many chefs spoil the soup.
right.
It was kind of that kind of situation. And when you work for those companies, you either have to love those characters enough that you are willing to do those kind of things, because every shoe doesn't fit every foot.
That's true. Very
Right.
true.
So, there's creators that they love working for the larger companies. They like that structure. They like that regular paycheck. They do a great job. They don't really deal in the independent stuff. They might do a little independent stuff from now and then, but that's their mainstay. And then there's other creators, all they think of is independent. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then they go over to Marvel and DC and do a little bit.
Right.
And then they come back. So, but with all that said, like when we talk about independence or comics in general, there are stories that resonate, because right now, I bet you there are people that come into your shop to this day, even though I don't think he's really doing anything with the main Hellboy story, but people are coming in. I saw somebody at your shop buy some Hellboy.
Mike Magnolia, huh? Yeah. He
Yeah.
has
So,
he actually has stuff out right now, they're doing like side expansion stories to go out into the Hellboy story arc, but I also have had people, he's done Batman covers and people just, oh, this is a Mac Magnolia cover, and they'll just buy it, what I'm saying. It's
yeah.
just stuff that he's done. I remember he done some stuff for Alpha Flight some years ago. People bought it because
Yes, I bought
he
that.
did the artwork to it and stuff.
But
I
but
think
Joe, they bought it after he became Big Mike.
right, right. But it's like you said, it's no, it's hard. Like not a lot of people. I can I was. You can go back to some of McFarlane's early work, and people overstepped that stuff. But when he started doing like the Hulk, and then he started
Oh
doing
yeah.
Spider-Man, all of a sudden everybody wanted to know. I have a Daredevil book in my collection right now. McFarlane done it, and you can see his art in there, but you can't really. It's not like on the same level that it was. When he started to really have his uprising. Jim Lee was doing stuff like the Punisher War Journal back in the days and
Oh,
stuff
I
like that.
love that. Oh man.
But
Woo.
his art really wasn't, his art was good, but the X-Men is the one that moved the needle for him, though, when he went over there and started drawing. I mean, so sometimes these artists just need the right break, the right character, like I like, in today's art style, I really enjoy, to see, I think Nick Dragata, who draws Absolute Batman, I'm just going to go to this for a second, but, it's going to be hard to talk because when you see Absolute Batman, you only see Nick Dragata's art style to it.
Yes, exactly.
So, there's some artists, that just are just those branded artists. But I love Jorge Jimenez right now. I think he's a great artist. I like Pat Larraz. I think that those two guys are two up and coming artists, to where they're paving the generation for new artists to keep on coming. We always have like those trendsetters. Like you, Ray, you're a trendsetter. That work you showed me the other day, dude. You almost made my eyes fall out of my face, dude. I was like,
I can only show people like you. I can't actually show it because I'm under NDA.
Right, but I was like, wow, man, this guy, man, got some hand skills to pay the bills, boy, and but it's stuff like that, but that you in my opinion, this is why I'm so glad I know you, because I see young boys and young girls, this is why going to these schools are so important, and they're hungry. I had one
Yeah.
kid, I was at an event one time. He literally begged his mama to drive him home to go get his art book so he can show me his art book because he saw, how influenced I was. I was like, man, you know what? I was like, when I get my store going, I want you want your mom to bring you to the store because I'm going to have people for you to meet someday, and that's the legacy I want to leave behind. I want to help that young, hungry kid that want to be an artist or a writer get the hell off in them streets doing graffiti. You know what I'm saying? Come over to a safe haven where you can turn that art style into a craft, where you can start your own, turn a legacy.
Yes.
What's that thing? Reach down to pull one up. You know what I'm saying? That's all I
That's
really
it.
want to do. You know what I'm saying? If I can pull up as many people that and help change lives in a positive manner, I've done my due diligence. I've done my work. I've shown I've shown others as well as my own seed that you can really go out there and chase your dreams and make something happen out of them. That's how
Joe,
I
you
want to
are
go out,
somebody of
Ray.
service. You are
Yeah,
a man of service. And first of all, we clicked on so many levels, man. I ain't even talk about that whole thing because you and I see eye to eye on that so well about reaching down and pulling somebody up. You know what I mean? And really kind of helping the next generation continue everything that we're doing right now.
yeah,
And really kind of giving them wings, I mean, that's what it is, right? Like that's the name of my studio Skye-Tiger. You give it, you're giving these folks wings to fly and build their own legacies. But it's easier for them to do it if somebody reaches back.
I agree.
You know
I
what I'm
agree.
saying? Because certain groups of people don't always have that leg up. They usually have to claw tooth and nail just to get a small break. As a matter of fact, I just went over to the Instagram feed, and there's a young independent creator by the name of Fish Skills right now that's over there on Instagram. He's talking about just getting in and doing the art thing, and he just came across this channel, and this is good. You know what I mean? Like what the information that you're bringing right now as a retailer, as a reader, as somebody who sees all that comics can bring. Like the comics community is incredible, man. Like
Oh,
there's so,
most definitely.
it's crazy,
Yeah,
you
most
know.
definitely. I think it's one of the most diverse, most powerful community that's out there amongst any other community, man. And one of the things in my past life as a store manager I would love to do was build and skill people up. My boss didn't even, he just gave me my last paycheck. He didn't even tell me goodbye because he was
Wow.
pissed that I left the company because I literally walked into the store that I ran that was doing $6.3 million a year. I brought that store to over $8 million a year. You know what I'm saying? And
Bringing that
over
Joseph
over
Woods
a
there.
five over a 3.5 year period of time, we grew that store in sales significantly. And but what did I do? You know what I did? I didn't let merchandise sit in the back room. Everything had to go out the back room. It sales. It does no good in a warehouse sitting back there.
That's
But
right.
in the process of that, it was all of I invest in people. I wasn't successful by myself. I'm not successful by myself. I tell my customers I'm everything with them and nothing without them. Without people, I have no business.
Right.
But in that, I built and skilled those. When I left that store, my assistant manager was ready to run that store without me being there because she was doing it anyway.
Mm.
All I did was help build her with the courage and the building blocks to be able to do that. You take a kid that wants to be a supervisor or a manager and you help them get there, building and skilling people up, helping people become better individuals or showing them that they are better individuals is sometimes some of our callings and what we need to do. And the more I did that, the more I learned from my mentors. I learned that, I got all that success out of being a store manager, but it was all through learning how to work through people, but not forgetting who those people are at the end of the day. Not forgetting to say thank you, not forgetting to show appreciation towards those people, because every customer that come inside this store, I'm grateful for them. Every one of them helps towards keeping the lights on and the doors open, and I treat them as such. I never make anybody feel unwelcome in this store, no matter what their background, what they may smell like, or anything like that. I'm saying? I treat people, the way I want to be treated, because no, I had a guy in here the other day, Ray. The strange thing is that, the guy, if you stereotyped him, you might think something different, but he was a very humble young man. He walked the store, and he came back the next day and he bought comic books.
Oh, love that
you
story.
know
Love it.
and I didn't judge him for his character. I didn't make him feel unwelcome or anything like that. I just said, well, man, when you come back, what I'm saying, you can buy this Doctor Strange, you can buy this. I had the books waiting for him to come back. Now he feels like he can come to a place and not feel, set apart or different and stuff like that. Dude, you like comic books, what I'm saying? We're not gonna treat you because, you may look a certain type of way or something like that. I'm not gonna make
Right.
you feel, like you're unwanted here.
You know what the comic den is? The comic den is home. The comic den makes
That's
you
why it's
feel
the
like
D.
home.
That's why it's the DN, my friend. That's
That's what I'm
why it's the
saying.
DN,
You
man.
can, and you know what? I love it. Now I'm really seeing the name, because when you at the den, when you in the den of your house, you be fully kicked back.
Exactly.
You are fully
Exactly.
kicked back. And so I'm really feeling that. I mean, you even got, you got the couch and everything, and I can't say this enough. Your energy, you are like the comic sage, the wise man, the person that you go. It's true. It's true. Your energy
I
when
don't
you
know if
come
everybody
in.
on Instagram feel that way, but I thank you for that,
No,
bro.
no. That's what it is, because I watched it every time I go. I watch it in action. You make people feel like home. It's like you're their family. I'm telling you, because you guys laugh and you do different things and stuff like that, and the way you treat your customers is extremely rare. And I'll be 100% honest, keep it a buck. People see dollar signs or potential dollar signs with certain customers, whatever, walk in the door. Not you. What you see is a potential reader. What you see is somebody. There's a book here for you, and I'm gonna make sure you get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
you. Yep. So
Because
I
if they can get that experience that me and you that we got from loving comics, we want more of that experience going out. You know what I'm saying? The money will come from just the love and the experience. Once somebody dude, do you know how many books I got that I haven't even read yet? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
We was
I
talking about
mean,
that. I got a stack.
I mean, just because I love this craft so much, and I said I'll get around to it, what I'm saying, hopefully, but it's just one of those things. You just, once you fall in love with it, it's just like it's one of the best addictions you can have, I
Yeah,
mean,
it
falling
is.
out of falling out of comic books for 5 years and you get back. For a drug, that's a bad thing. But for comics, you know what you want to do, man? You want to fill in that 5 year gap that you've been gone with. You
You
know what I'm
do it,
saying?
and
Oh, what have I been?
let me buy
What
this.
did
Let
I
me do
miss
this.
out on?
Yeah.
What how can I get? Oh man, this happened and this happened. Oh, last time I read this was going on. And now you're trying to fill in that gap. You're trying to
Yeah.
fill in that gap. Now, but what are you doing? You're reading, you're going in the story arc, you're learning, you're exploring art, you're hearing story, you're probably learning new words, you're learning. I mean, some of
That's
these
how I
artists,
learned. I increased my vocabulary reading all that those
exactly,
old Marvel comic books. Yeah.
That's what I was telling these little kids at a middle school. I was like, yeah, you go to some classes talking about cryogenics and all this kind of stuff. They were looking at you,
Exactly.
where you getting all these words from,
You're
man?
so smart. You're so smart. Why you so smart? Books teach. It's comic books.
Exactly.
So
Exactly, my
we
man.
had the creator of WTF Mama come in and give you some love, Joe.
Oh, what's going on? Thank you
Yep.
for the love, man. Appreciate it.
So yeah, so what we're actually gonna have Shirley here next Tuesday. That's the next interview we're gonna be doing. So but yeah, she'll be here next Tuesday, but I think she just popped in. And then we had Chris Robinson over on Instagram. So Chris Robinson showed up over there. He didn't say anything. That's what Chris does. Chris will pop in just to kind of like be a fly on the wall and see what we're talking about.
Well, I
He might
love
he
Chris.
Oh yeah, Chris is great. I mean, Chris and I have been friends since we worked together in Marvel. So, love this dude. He's been to the house. Chris Robinson actually has had my brisket. Chris
Oh
Robinson
wow.
and Kathleen, I love them. I love those two. They're great, beautiful, beautiful family. But yeah, Chris. He One thing I'll say about Robinson is that dude is a low key genius. Like
I can tell by some of the stuff he's written.
yeah, yeah, he low key genius, man, and he has a great eye. So anything that he does, you know, I watch out for it. I'm lucky enough that we are close enough that I know about it, but as a reader, consumer, and stuff like that, like it's like, I see what you did there. Okay, and and so yeah, I mean, anything that Chris is doing, I think people should watch out for. But yeah, as a matter of fact, right now we let's see if we have any questions for Joe. I mean, we're an hour and almost 15 minutes in, man, and it went by fast. Cause I'm looking, what was it, about 30 minutes? Like, nah, this went by real fast. So if we have any questions from anybody to ask Joe about anything going on at the comic den, at the shop, independent books, what it's like being there, what kind of books he looks for. That's the other thing, because let me tell you something about Mr. Woods. He is definitely a huge proponent of independent comics, but he also knows some things that's like, maybe that ain't gonna work.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about that.
We're
Yeah,
just
yeah, we
talking
talked
about
about that the other day. Yes,
so
you know
yeah.
that it's what you. It's two words for that: being brutally honest or telling the truth in love. I combination of both of those.
Yeah, let me tell you something. You kind of know. I mean, they have this thing where it's like they said California people, and I love how they lumped us all in. It's like California people are nice but not kind, and or East Coast people are kind but not nice. And I was like, yeah, I agree 100% when you talk about the Hollywood people, whatever. But hood people will talk mad stuff to you while they helping you out. They call you
Yeah,
all out your name, you know. So
sure
yeah,
will.
I sure will. So yeah, so let's see who we got. Let's see. Like I said, yeah, Shayla. I think Shayla said hey to you, Joe. Hold on, let me see. Can I do this real quick? I did. Here we go. Yep, Shayla said hey. Let's see. We got somebody I think on Facebook right now. We go to Facebook and see what's going on there. Hold on, because we might have some comments over there. Yeah, but it's going pretty good, man. Like I'm so glad to have you on the show, and I can't wait to have you back. Like the entire plan was to have you and Chris on the show at the same time.
Oh man, that's my guy. Yeah, Chris. I love Chris, man.
Yeah, it would have been really really cool. Like I said, but let me tell you something. We will get another opportunity because as soon as Chris gets better, because this was really like this is his segment. I really want to introduce the world to Chris and his knowledge and his personality and all
Yeah,
that. I've known Chris if I'm X years old, I have known Chris since the third grade. And Chris knows things about me that man, he knows things about me. So, but he is also a fantastic retailer. He's managed his own
amazing.
shop. He's just amazing. People love him like they love you. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
no, I always said if I can find anybody like Chris, I was like June. I give that man all the props in the world. Keep that man, man. Keep that man on your team, boy. Because man, you better not let me be able to afford him. He gonna be wearing a Comic Den T-shirt, man. But
and Chris
uh,
might be willing to go.
the thing is, though, I walked into his shop, or when I'm talking to him on the phone, just an I could say an onslaught of kindness. You know, I mean, just welcoming, just friendly, just everything how I like my store to be ran. You know, just a strong representative for good business. I think Chris is all at it
Yes.
and then some.
And that's the thing about Chris. Like, see, our friend that we've known almost as long, a lot, who's also an artist, Chris said he deserves his own shop. You know what? I think he does. I think that's the thing that Chris is trying to do. He's trying to get to a point where he can have his own shop, or at least being a partner with somebody else in their shop and build something together. So one of the two things. But I mean, let me tell you something. I have a retirement plan. I think I'm going to tell y'all because I never uttered this, so y'all, it'll be recorded. I was like, I'll get to the point where I'll start drawing less, and I'll, and the now with the publishing company, somebody else can manage it while it gets built up to a certain point, and then I'll open a shop, you know, and that's you already know who's going to be in the shop, but yeah, so I mean that's really what the deal was. That's my retirement plan, at some point. But yeah, man, like he's amazing. Chris Robinson actually did say something. I went back and he just asked us, and I don't know if Jamal Anansi is around. I don't know if Marcus Newsom is around. They should be. They should still be here because they're part of the studio, Skye-Tiger Comics. Chris Robinson asked us, when is Sincere #2 coming out?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I'm right along with that. I'm right along with Chris on that. Where because Jamal, well, I know Jamal got everything in the making. So that's one thing I can say. I am fully confident in that man's ability to deliver. So I am willing to be patient and wait for Marcus, who has just become a brand new a daddy to another family member. I understand all the aspects of what you're working through, bro, but don't take too long now, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's enjoy fatherhood and then get back on the grind, man. You know what I'm saying? Because people are already ready to see Sincere #2 and 3. And I think the character, we were talking about this the other night, right? That character, Sincere, is such a unique character. He just got to get in their eyes and ears of the right people, and I think that's going to really bring that character to a brand new fruition that we didn't even imagine it. Well, we should have an expectation for
Yeah,
that
you should have.
actually. Yeah, I have an expectation. I believe, like I told you guys this the other day. I like when you guys stopped the Kickstarter. I was like, dude, I mean, I wish you guys would have just did what y'all did this past time. Give me the damn book, dude. I'll sell it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, give it to me. I will get it in the eyes and the ears of folks. They will know who this character is by the time I'm done. Because
Yes.
that's all I've done since I've got your book in the store. I've explained the uniqueness of the character, the politics to him, the struggle, all that kind of stuff. And people pick. I've not had one person pick up that book and not walk up to the register with it. Not a
I'm
single
gonna tell
one.
you, Joe, it's all strategic. So here's the beauty about being the publisher. Here's the beauty. Just like Figaro do, I just set up the dominoes. I helped Marcus perfect his craft a little bit more. Me and Jamal talked about story, and then I'll leave them dudes on their way. I get out of the way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's really what it is. Like, and they're new, and I have 20 plus years of experience storytelling and all this kind of stuff, and it is my job, like we talked about a minute ago, is pulling people up. If I can't dump my knowledge into the worthy people of that knowledge, what am I doing?
Right.
What am I doing? So when Marcus came up with the idea of doing the collaboration, because we're three guys from Compton at different levels of this industry, in different parts of this industry in the game, we thought it was a great idea, but it's like, well, us doing something, great. What are we gonna do? And then, Jamal came up with the whole idea of Sincere. He had an idea of Sincere already, but like he told people at the signing, which was great, he's like, it's really the thing of having Midnight Tiger and Lightning Strike in it. And so I've had people tell me that, well, you and I talked about timing, and that's what we told Jamal, because here's the thing about the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter was so, for the most part, dead. It was pretty dead. However, timing is everything, because I was talking to the studio as a whole as we were about to go into a transition. We were going to restructure the way we did things, especially being new. And with all that going on, I was like, you know what? Because it's dead. Had Sincere been gangbusters, then I would have waited for the restructuring.
Right.
Right. But no, it was right on time. I was like, we had already, Marcus, Jamal, and myself had already said, we're going to put it out regardless, no matter what happens. And so that's it, eventually what happened. But with the restructuring of the company going digital first, and our site will go live, you guys can hear it now and it'll be recorded. Skye-Tiger.com goes live March 1st, where you will be able to read all of our comics for free as webcomics. We release a page on Tuesday and a new page on Thursday for all of our titles. So it will be something that you guys can go to and read on Tuesday before the Wednesday Warriors drop. And then after you read all your comics on Wednesday, you come back to our site on Thursday and read those pages then. So we will get you to Wednesday and we will take you out to Friday. That's what we do.
Awesome.
For free. After we collect all of those pages, then we print the books. We already built the fan base. And one thing that you know, Joe, and I know as collectors, you can read the comic, but when you have the book in hand, everybody wants that book in hand. There are people who have several versions of the same book.
Yep.
This is what we know, right? So when we release our anthology, so our books are structured like Weekly Shonen Jump, where there's a bunch of stories in there, but we have our main stories, which are ongoing. And then we'll have, an occasional one shot, or some other creators want to join in and we'll premiere their story. Some friends who want to play in the game, and see what they do. And we'll have mature readers. And then we have our main Studio Skye-Tiger Presents anthology. And that book, once it comes out, will be over 200 pages. So, and we plan to release those books, I would say, definitely twice a year. We would love to push it to 3 times a year, but it depends on how much content we get. So, we already have a thing where the first book, since Midnight Tiger Evo Chapter 1 will be out this Thursday, by the time that Studio Skye-Tiger Presents, with all the stories like Lightning Strike, Midnight Tiger Evo, Sincere, other stories that Arise to Ruin, the Buck Rogers thing that people have been waiting for, been talking to me about, all of that kind of stuff. When that comes out, what's going to be in that book is Chapter 2 of Midnight Tiger Evo, not Chapter 1, because you have to go back and buy that. You have to buy that one, and then you can continue with that. Same thing. Lightning Strike number 4 will be in there, but Marcus Newsom has a compilation of Lightning Strike number 1 through 3.
Right.
So that way you have to get those books plus the anthology to carry it forward. Anyway, all that being said, this is what our setup is. This is what our business plan is. And, we're not going to hold Joe too much longer, because Joe looks like he's getting a little sleepy right now.
Oh no, yeah, that, and then I got to finish putting up this wall. I gotta get ready.
Oh, that's right. That's Walk the Wall. What is see? And I really wanted to get you to do Walk the Wall with us, but I know you got a plan, so I'm gonna let you go on and get that going.
Well, I got to get the wall. Got to finish getting the wall up first. You know what I'm saying? But I'm in a good place though. I prepared myself to be able to sit down with you and to have this moment with you, so it wouldn't take that long, and I wouldn't be able to wouldn't be here much long after this podcast was done and over with. If I had more of the wall up, I would love to walk the wall with you guys, do it here with you guys, but I still got a little arm and leg work to do. So I will be doing that as soon as we are done here and getting ready to get these people in store tomorrow to get their read on it, proceed on with their lives.
Exactly. And Chris Robinson also wanted me to let y'all know, in the anthology next year will be me and Chris Robinson's Cornerman, which we were So that one, that all ties into the whole universe thing. So yes, Cornerman will be there. Icons will be there. All of our stuff will be there for next year. And so that's a book that definitely would be at the Comic Den for sure. And so here's the thing. Joe is a part of our family. Like, he is such an integral part of the studio. You know what I mean? Like, he sees a lot of stuff that y'all won't see for a while. And he's a part of almost every conversation. Like, the thing that we've been loosely talking about is the Frankenstein thing. And you talk to Jamal like, hey, what's up with that? And I have it on good authority. I've already read the first issue of Frankenstein. It's a banger. Frankenstein, King of the Zombies is a banger. And Jamal and I, and we're all working through it and stuff like that right now to kind of tighten it up and get ready for y'all. And that'll be in the anthology Regulus, our
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking
mature
forward.
readers. Yeah. And
It's
I
just some
guarantee
things
Jamal
you just
will print it.
know.
Yeah.
There's some things you just know that's going to work, and I know that one is going to work for the people. The people are going to really be drawn to that.
Oh man, maybe we'll slide to the script and really let you know. But,
Well,
all right, Joe.
I'm ready to rock steady, man. That's all I can tell you.
Look, we doing it, man. All right, so we gonna go. I'm gonna leave you, Joe. Thank you so much. I know you're gonna be back, right?
Oh, most definitely, dude. Most
All
definitely.
right. All right,
Like they
Joe.
say,
Thank you.
most definitely, most definitely.
So next week, you guys, we'll have Shayla Height here on to talk about her journey going from corporate to comics and her writing journey and all of that kind of stuff. It's really going to be quite educational. If you're somebody who is just starting out and has no idea how to do this, she's going to be dropping some straight gems and tell you guys how she got to WTF Mama and other things that she's going to be working on this year. All right, this is Ray Anthony Height and Joseph Woods signing out.
Folks.
Later.